is recording now. Okay. Hi, Tara. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too.
I'm glad you could make it. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So today you're going to talk to us about disability and employment. But why don't we start off by learning who you are and what you do?
Okay. First of all, hi everybody. My name is Tara Geraghty-Ellis, and I am a social worker by profession, and the title that I've given myself in terms of what I actually do is a disability empowerment strategist. So what that actually means is that I help other people with disabilities, to make their way through the rigmarole of the social services system. And I help people fill out forms, or I help people to get through the muck of the systems that are in place and get to where they want to be, to their ultimate goal. And so that's basically what I try to do in all realms of life, whether it's mental health, whether it's employment, whether it's lifestyle, relationships, whatever. My biggest function thus far has been government, because we all kind of hit up against government uh, paperwork, legislations, rules, regulations, that sort of crap. And people come to me to say, how do I get through this? And how do I deal with this? And that's what I really take them by the hand and help them through. The next biggest barrier tends to be employment. So that's what I do. And I also wrote a book called VISable and Empowered, and I can send a bunch of copies if you'd like to buy copies. I can send a bunch of copies over to Mark, and you can buy them from Mark, and we can work out a deal. And basically what that does, it basically is a how-to manual for each age and stage in life of how to empower yourself and what to do to make your life easier in every facet of your life. And it's for different genders, different identities, different stages, different facets of your life. And I tried to be as inclusive as possible. So it's a pretty holistic book.
Right. And let's go back a bit. The work you do, is that for both people in Canada and the US? Like, you help people
Yes.
in Canada and the US?
Yes.
So you're familiar with both systems?
I am familiar with both systems. I am familiar with both the healthcare system in both the US and Canada, and actually Europe and Britain, because my parents are Irish. So I have European citizenship and British citizenship. So I also am familiar with those systems as well. So I have a working knowledge of all of that. Although I don't work very extensively with people from Britain or Europe.
Now let's, before we go into the next question, maybe you want to just talk a bit about your own personal journey and diagnosis a bit.
Okay.
People get to know you.
My primary diagnosis is spina bifida. So, along with spina bifida, I have hydrocephalus, which is basically
Water on the brain,
cerebral
right?
hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain.
You're right.
So I have a shunt, which drains the water, the cerebral fluid from my brain into my kidneys, and it just drains out of me. And then I have Chiari malformation, which basically means that my brainstem sits too low, and I had to have that corrected. And I have a curvature. I have two curvatures in my spine, and I have a tethered spinal cord, which means that rather than it floating like it's supposed to, I have it tethered to the base of my uh the top of my back, or the base of my back, top of
The
my bum.
lumbar area.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of different things that I have going on. And So along with that, there's the learning disabilities, there's the mental health problems, there's all kinds of invisible disabilities.
Right. Well, we're familiar with those in bunches. But many people in our community are struggling to find the appropriate kinds of employment in volunteer situations. What would you advise?
Uh, that's a loaded question. uh, well, it starts with, okay, first of all, I want to say that COVID has changed the landscape of employment almost on its head. So what we used to think as traditional employment kind of no longer exists. There are traditional jobs, but it's kind of broken open because we're now, a lot of us are in lockdown. A lot of us are not uh, are finding it really hard. People with and without disabilities are finding it really, really hard to sustain employment. And that's rampant right at the moment. So people are having to become really creative in terms of assessing what they want to do next and who they are and what they bring to the table or what they bring to the community in terms of um, their skills, their ideas, their contributions. And I think that's where you have to start,
Right.
is knowing yourself
Yeah.
first.
Now, obviously, this is a challenging situation we're in right now, but there, for a lot of us, there kind of really is no options. So, would you say it's like a good opportunity to focus on personal development and maybe figuring out what it is you're supposed to be doing?
It's it's a great time to look inward right now, at least for the first quarter of 2021. It's a great time to look at who you are as a person and what you're really passionate about, and look at the community around you and what are the needs of that community, and can you fit what you're really passionate about and what your natural skills and abilities are to what the needs of your immediate community are. If you can do that, you can find your space in this economy.
Right. We sort of shared your own personal story and diagnosis. How did you navigate your, I'm assuming, like, how did you navigate your way to becoming employed?
Okay. Well, like I said, I have a social work master's degree. So that helps. Um, I am currently self-employed because after I had the surgery for my Chiari malformation, things went wrong and I had to leave the traditional employment. So I was in traditional employment. I was a worker bee in a nonprofit. And then I couldn't do that anymore. So then I opened up uh, Access Disability Empowerment and started my own business. And so now I'm looking to pivot what I do within my business again, given the realities of 2021. And so I'm sort of in the same situation as you all because our realities as a world has changed. And I'm trying to pivot what I do to accommodate the new reality. So this is actually a very timely conversation. Um, so I've determined for myself that the new thing, if you look on even Facebook or Instagram or whatever, is health and wellness. And I took on a health journey back in September for myself. I decided that I wanted to get strong and I wanted to get healthy and I wanted to lose a bunch of weight. And I've given myself a year just to focus on that with a view that I'm going to start helping other people with disabilities to do the same. And so now I'm thinking towards what does that look like next September? And I might push up that date because I'm starting to get a lot of interest in what I'm doing. And people are starting to ask me more questions, and I'm participating in more groups of people with disabilities who are struggling to lose weight and struggling with their health. And so I'm getting more interested in what I'm doing and my success. And so I might move up that date. That's that's what I'm really talking about when I say find your niche based on what you're passionate about combined with what your community needs.
Now it can be challenging for everyone, especially people with disabilities, to push forward and stay positive. Um, what are some practical tips you can share for people who maybe they're trying to get employment, they're getting rejected, or various other life things that are going on that are taking away their energy to be able to do the stuff they need to do?
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is you have to implement a ritual, a routine of that is a self-care routine. If you don't have a self-care routine that grounds you in positivity, then you have nothing to to ground you when you have those days, when you have those days, weeks, months, hours, whatever it may be. You have to be able to wake up every day and have something, whether it be meditation, whether it be affirmations, whether it be um, a book that makes you feel good, music that you listen to, that you do on a regular basis. And I'm talking rituals that you do every single day that just make you feel good.
Mm.
You have to make it a priority to make yourself feel good, starting from the very moment you wake up, regardless of what's happening in your world, because you need to build that resilience in yourself first. And then you will find that you can bounce back from whatever's happening.
And how long do you think? How long per day do you think that would take? I would
5 to 10
imagine.
minutes,
Yeah,
5 to 10 minutes.
the key is that you do it every day, right? It doesn't really matter how long it is.
Right. I mean, if you can spend 30 minutes looking after your mental health, looking after your soul, do it. Like if you can set up a system where before you eat or before you do anything else, you stretch, you meditate, you read affirmations, you journal, whatever, and you exercise and you do things. If you can spend that kind of time, better. If you don't have that kind of time and you can squeak in 10 minutes, great. If you can squeak in 5 minutes, great. As long as you make a ritual of it.
Right. Many of our in our community struggle financially. What are the free resources you'd recommend?
Are people on ODSP?
Um, yeah, I think most of the Canadians here are.
Okay. Are people on disability who are American?
Um, I I think that's kind of a mixed bag because you probably know that if you don't have a diagnosis, it makes it much harder to get anything, right? And
Right.
some people don't have that clear diagnosis in writing.
Right. Um it's yeah, that's a tricky. Um you you want to you want to go to the place that's going to look after your immediate needs. So if you are needing housing and food, then go to the places that are going to give you those. People look for money. And I know that that's the most dignified place to go. So up here, we're looking at Ontario Works, ODSP, whatever. And the reason I get it is because that gives you freedom. It gives you the autonomy to make those decisions all on your own. You get money, you get to decide where to spend it. But short of that, short of having that money to spend, there are resources that will give you food, that'll give you shelter, that'll give you clothing for free. Go and look for those. Don't be so proud that you're going to deprive yourself of the things that you need now. Build yourself up from where you are presently.
You mentioned that you had written a book, Visible and Empowered. You told us a bit about what it's about. Why do you think a book like that is important?
Because it's a no bull crap kind of book that says we as a community of people who have various types of disabilities have been crapped on long enough, and we need to stand up and advocate for our needs. And I have some ideas how to do that. And these are the ways.
If before we go to anyone's questions, if somebody thinks of a question after we're done here, how can they reach you?
My personal email is Tara Ellis, Tara Ellis, Ellis, 905 at gmail.com.
Now let me go to gallery view, and I'm going to unmute, or how do I unmute everyone? I guess, ask all to unmute. So if anyone has a question, they can go ahead and unmute themselves and ask it. And anyone have a question?
Not a question, but a comment. I appreciate very much what Tara, what you're saying about routine. Myself, I have an exercise routine every morning, and it just I don't know, it just makes me feel like there's a reason to get up.
Excellent. Fabulous.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thanks, Sarah.
I was just going to ask what ODSP was.
That's the Ontario
Okay.
support.
That's what I assumed it was Ontario. Yeah, I'm in Alberta, so.
Okay. Every province has their own disability support program.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for your time today, Tara, and thanks for sharing all that information. And I'll put this up on Facebook Live a bit later.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, or if anything strikes anybody in your community later, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my very best to answer your questions.
I have another question. How can one get hold of your book?
Just talk to Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk to Mark. He'll talk to me. I'll get you a copy of the book. I'm gonna sell it for $15.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Tara, and I'll let you go. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank